Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. And you can also follow us in the Freedom Zone, whether it's Patreon or on YouTube. The links are underneath the video. Right now, $3.19 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 1.3%. Bitcoin just knocking on the door of 100K. It looks like we're close to seeing it happen. What'll happen to the rest of the market after it does? Ethereum 1900 plus. We see XRP 221. We're up 3.8% on the 24-hour. We're off 1.1 on a 7-day. The range of price between 211 and 222, we're sitting at the top side of that range. We'll keep an eye on it. The time is running out to get your XRP Las Vegas ticket. That's right, the largest XRP conference in the world, May 30th, May 31st. We have 21 days. The clock is ticking. And just listen to the rundown of the kind of people you can meet. Bree Teresi, model and golfer. Take a listen.
This is a friendly reminder to go ahead and purchase your XRP Vegas tickets because the event is coming up on May 30th and 31st. We're going to have Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse and David Swartz there speaking, as well as the CEO of Uphold, of iTrustCapital.
1 second. Computer's been doing this.
CEO of Uphold, of iTrustCapital, and Caleb and Brown, and so many other people in the digital asset space. It's going to be an awesome way to be able to learn so much during these panels, ask questions and connect with other people from the community. If you are new to this space, this is the perfect opportunity for you. Go ahead and purchase tickets down below. I can't wait to see you in Vegas.
No doubt about it. Click this link for 2 ticks or go to xrplasvegas.com and get your ticket. And while you're there, go to xrpwealth589.com. Why? So you can open up your free account today and get the best night of sleep you've ever had in crypto. Let me tell you, you don't believe it? It's still true. I'm going to keep talking about this until everybody gets the same level of customer service that I'm now getting. This is why you speak to a human being, whether it's a technical issue to your account or you want to speak directly to a prime broker about your market orders in case exchanges freeze. This is what I'm talking about. How about no hidden fees? How about no spreads? How about one flat fee? How about institutional custody for retail folks like you and I? This is why I'm telling you, xrpwealth589.com, open up your account before this bull market gets kicked off and get the best service around for the crypto space, bar none. Caleb and Brown. Link underneath the video. Well, we start right here. Oh my goodness. Well, just watch the difference between Maxine Waters wanting to grandstand on the current administration on the policy in crypto and then blow kisses to Sam Bankman-Fried, who destroyed numerous amounts of lives with his fraud and dumpster fire of the way he handled FTX.
I object to this joint hearing because of the corruption of the President of the United States and his ownership of crypto and his oversight of all the agencies. I object.
Look, blowing a kiss and waving. There it is. Mwah! To the second largest Democrat donor who got to meet with Gary Gensler. And for some reason, Gary Gensler didn't see the dumpster fire that was FTX, which would take anyone about 30 seconds to find. So, one has to wonder, right? But again, more political posturing. And at the end of the day, I do believe we're going to see legislation get through. However, I do think that the current administration and the current president hasn't done himself any favors to launch meme coins and allow certain projects to get out in front of the legislation, knowing that you're the president right now. So, the reality is you can make the argument that isn't much different than when Nancy Pelosi was betting on stocks that she knew she was passing legislation for, right, to benefit from. So, this is the kind of thing, to the victor go the spoils, as they say, right? But ultimately, I think we get through this because I think this issue is much bigger than political posturing and grandstanding. Meanwhile, Senate Republican says, this is Senator Thune, who says that he plans on pushing the vote through for the Genius Act today and bringing it to the floor. And this is in respect to the understanding that there were 9 Democrats who have now stood up after having a committee vote. And just so you know the process, the reason they have committees is to suss out what the issues are between both sides of the aisle. And then once they suss those issues out, they vote on it in committee. And when it goes through in committee, it usually signals that it's ready for a floor vote. That way they don't waste time bringing bills to the floor that won't pass. So that's the point to that. We'll see what happens today, if anything at all. Meanwhile, it's M&A season. Coinbase acquires Deribit for $2.9 billion, the largest acquisition by a crypto company yet. This expands the Coinbase derivatives platform as more money will be made in derivatives of crypto assets while holding and retaining the crypto itself. This is what I've been saying. This is why I'm here, because crypto is a very small slice of the pie. It's the tokenization of the rest of the world's value that I'm here for, and the ability for assets like XRP to help facilitate the settlement, clearing, and movement of that value. So super excited. And here is obviously an older picture of Commissioner Pham meeting with Brad Garlinghouse, and she has announced that they will soon be participating at the CFTC as an observer in the industry tokenization pilot. Well, let me get this queued up because the whole thing is great, but I'm not going to play you the whole thing so you can breathe a sigh of relief. But I am going to bring it in right here where Commissioner Pham lays down 3 very important things they're focused on at the CFTC, and we should be too.
Is the other thing that's really important to keep in mind. What's important to keep in mind is that what are the use cases, right, that digital assets can bring to financial markets? And I see them as 3 key benefits, right? So number 1 is the ability to enable greater liquidity formation. And actually DeFi has a tremendous ability to aid in that liquidity aggregation and formation. Number 2, and I've been saying for 3 years now, and I used to work at a big bank, so I've been very focused on this. Number 2 is that the killer app for blockchain technology in traditional financial markets is more efficient collateral management. The CFTC oversees the $700 trillion notional derivatives markets. There are untold amounts of margin and collateral being exchanged every single day. And with blockchain technology, that can become tremendously more efficient. And by being more efficient, it allows financial institutions to redeploy those assets in more productive ways. It can allow financial institutions to provide more credit to households and businesses. It can allow financial institutions to put those assets to work in many other ways. And then finally, number 3 is that the blockchain technology can reduce risks. Clearly, it reduces operational risk, but it can also reduce other financial and non-financial risks. So as an example, there are reports that have come out that have said that tokenization can save billions of dollars a year in both OpEx and CapEx. When you take that and extrapolate it out across the banking industry or other financial institutions, it's a tremendous savings. Now, what has the CFTC been doing to address these different areas? When it comes to tokenization, thank you, Nicole, for serving on the CFTC's Global Markets Advisory Committee's Digital Asset Markets Subcommittee. Last year, that subcommittee came out with not only a digital asset taxonomy to help bridge the gap between the lack of regulatory clarity in the United States and the standards that have been implemented across international standard setters as well as other jurisdictions, but we also importantly came out with a recommendation for tokenized non-cash collateral. That could be tokenized treasury ETFs. And so I'm very pleased to say, I'm announcing this is big news, the CFTC is going to be soon participating as an observer in industry tokenization pilots so that we can better understand the use cases and the benefits of the technology and engage in capacity building so we can be ready for a new or more expanded role. When it comes to crypto assets as an asset class, obviously having predictable rules helps the maturation of the asset class. So there's the President's executive order on digital asset markets. There's the President's working group that the CFTC is proud to be a member of, and we're contributing towards that 180-day report. We've been providing technical assistance to Congress, and just today they released the discussion draft of the market structure legislation. And we rescinded 2 advisories that were not appropriate anymore given the development of the asset class that were specifically targeted at heightened standards for crypto derivatives. And then we have completely ended regulation by enforcement consistent with the DOJ memo. So it's been a tremendous amount of work that we've accomplished in the first 100 days. And so I just want to leave you with some lessons learned as we think about the approach to regulatory clarity in the United States for crypto assets. I think when you consider what was the last most transformative piece of market structure legislation, it was the Dodd-Frank Act. It was how the Dodd-Frank Act completely changed the swaps markets, which, by the way, the CFTC also regulates. And so I implemented Dodd-Frank. I not only worked on the rules when I was staff at the CFTC, I then went to Citi and was the global head of swap dealer and Volcker compliance. And I ran a $1 billion compliance program, and the industry spent hundreds of billions of dollars in registration and compliance costs, and it took the CFTC 4 to 5 years to write the rules to implement the Dodd-Frank Act. But what did Dodd-Frank really result in? I think there's two things that everybody needs to keep in mind about getting the legislation right, and I really commend the efforts of Congress, and I've been pleased to help with this. We have to make sure that the compliance costs don't crush the innovation and crush entrepreneurs. Because one of the unfortunate results of the Dodd-Frank Act, while it made many aspects of the market structure better, and particularly central clearing was a great innovation, but it ended up with regulatory moat, so that the barrier to entry was almost just completely prohibitive unless you were the biggest of banks. And number two, it resulted in market fragmentation. And because digital assets is inherently a global and borderless market, I think we must be careful to avoid the market fragmentation that could be an unfortunate result if we don't get it right with not having the overbearing compliance costs. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Listen, she dropped a lot inside of that. And I just want to touch on tokenized treasury ETFs. Oh, okay. 700 trillion redeployed hits blockchain. That's the ultimate goal for the CFTC tokenization pilot, right? And she worked on the Dodd-Frank Act. Really? The same Dodd-Frank Act that we've been talking about for years that designate financial market utilities as systemically important. If the council determines that the failure or of disruption of the functioning of a financial market utility could create or increase the risk of significant liquidity or credit problems spreading among financial institutions or markets and thereby threaten the stability of the U.S. financial system, designated FMUs will become subject to heightened prudential and supervisory provisions of Title VIII, which promote robust risk management, safety, and soundness, including conducting their operations in compliance with applicable risk management standards, providing advance notice and review of changes to their rules, procedures, and operations that could materially affect the nature of their level of risk, and being subject to relevant examination and enforcement provisions. Now, very quickly, I want to show you some entities that have been designated as financial market utilities. The Clearinghouse Payments Company, the CLS, Bank International, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the Depository Trust Company, which we are partnered with, Fixed Income Clearing Corporation, ICE Clear Credit, LLC, National Securities Clearing Corporation, Options Clearing, Settlement, right? That's interesting, isn't it? Stripe says they're getting in the game with their 1.4 trillion worth of transactions will soon be moving on crypto rails as they introduce stablecoin financial accounts, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone can use them from businesses to personal people. How about that? And what did the DTCC tell us? That they could tokenize, and he said it here, 34 seconds. Let me just get you there really quickly so you don't have to suffer the whole video.
Model. As I mentioned to you, the one right to win that DTCC has in this model is we are the record keeper for quadrillions of dollars of transactions, but for fundamentally assets under record, approximately $100 trillion worth of assets. So unilaterally, without the need to engage anyone else, we can actually make it possible to tokenize $100 trillion worth of value. No one else can do that.
And they can do it in a few seconds. The DTC has just announced that they are integrating systems with Ripple partner ISDA, International Swaps and Derivatives Association. You know the Ripple joined that so they could connect even deeper into the DTCC and other clearing and settlement platforms, I believe, as well. DTCC settling over 2.3 quadrillion a year. Just as DTC provides settlement for U.S. equities, for example, blockchain-based settlement networks such as Ripple, ROX, and Copper have the potential to provide near-instant settlement for global fiat currencies, digital assets. Obviously, there'll be more than one ledger to rule them all, not one to rule them all. We have been talking about this for years. This is just one video I found from back in 2021. And I know we've been talking about it since before then. But the reality is it's happening now.
MiCA rules. When MiCA went live in 2024, it was fully MiCA compliant, and it was also became fully transferable on the Ethereum blockchain. Since then, it will now be available on several other blockchains, including Solana, Ripple, and Stellar.
Now, this is a gentleman from SocGen who participated in the settlement in the Great Collateral Experiment with the DTCC. Reminder, SocGen is also launching the Euro CV on the XRP ledger as well as Ethereum as well. Listen to the rest of this.
And we're looking forward to being able to use it as a means of cash and as a means of collateral using in this project.
All right, Tom, I see that the collateral movement that you just processed has already settled and our exposure is covered. That's amazing. You entered a movement on your side, and since we're using the same distributed ledger, I saw it update instantly within a matter of seconds, and my exposure is completely covered.
There you go, DTCC. Ripple's deeply involved. There is no guessing. We were guessing years ago, and we were right because now it's happening. And even Monica Long makes it very clear. Tokenizing the capital markets, settling and clearing.
Payments is also kind of like a base use case for other types of financial services. Like if you think about security settlement, like it triggers a payment at the end of it. So we thought we should tackle this first, but we always did have our sights set on expanding into tackling other types of financial use cases. So capital markets is kind of like a logical place to expand.
So stocks and bonds?
Yeah, stocks, bonds,
Yeah.
exactly.
There you have it. And then what do we know? Ripple, Archax, Graham Rodman, I think it is. This is unbelievable. Remember when he said this? Tokenizing 30 to 50 trillion will be on the XRP ledger by Archax. When talking about replacing cash with DTCC, Euroclear, the only takes one. DTC cross-border, digital
Payments
March
is also
10th.
kind of like
Hold on.
a base use case.
The internet's been acting funny here. Take a listen.
30 to 50 trillion, all on XRPL, all trading on Artex. Here we go. Find my original projections, but the total market is 1.4 quadrillion, everything that's ever out there. And if you start looking across any of those asset classes, they're all starting to move on-chain already. And the ease with which we've seen people interested in money market funds, tokenized treasuries, and those types of instruments, the support for stablecoins, when you're talking about replacing cash, when I see DTCC, Euroclear, Clearstream, it only takes one of them to flip onto natively digital, and that's trillions of assets on its own that move.
And we were just told by Dan Dunny at DTCC that they could do 100 trillion and they don't need anyone's permission to do it. Interesting, isn't it? And then we saw that U.S. Treasury Secretary said we could see a demand for tokenized securities, U.S. government securities, to the tune of $2 trillion in just a few years. Listen to this last part here.
Digital assets are an important source of innovation that will drive that can drive usage of the U.S. dollar around the world, as with stablecoin legislation. There is speculation that there may be up to $2 trillion of demand over the next few years.
There you have it right there. It's just super exciting. And then you remember we just acquired Hidden Road, which is settling $3 trillion a year, $10 billion a day, all on the ledger. And then Robinhood planning blockchain to trade U.S. assets in Europe. Yeah. Remember when they partnered with Bitstamp to put together a platform just like what we're hearing about now? This is only getting bigger. So yeah, am I excited that Amonix thinks that XRP to $20 plus is coming eventually and confirmed? Yeah. And I'm excited to see 3, 4, and 5 digits as well. But we know the United States is the catalyst to this new crypto innovation. Why? Because the world's been getting to it. And it's been the United States that it's waiting for to join the party. And we're about to. And when we do, I think it's going to blow people's minds, even mine. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.